And it's indeed a pleasure for BancFirst to be a part of the services that are offered there at your residence. There's nothing like banking at home, so to speak. When you look at the history of BancFirst, and everyone's familiar with banks. We've banked with banks our entire lives, and you drive by and you see a large sign, and there's a drive-in, an ATM. You go in, there's a lobby, there's a teller, and it's supposed to be a place where welcome you there, as well as keep your information private and keep your money safe. Those are the two basic things that we do. We never think about the ancestral history, oftentimes, of these financial institutions. And so when you walk down the hallway and you walk past the BancFirst branch, and it is a full branch under the state banking laws of the state of Oklahoma there at your facility, you're actually walking past a piece of Oklahoma history. And I say Oklahoma history because banking institutions, much like family members, if you spend some time talking to grandma or grandpa, you'll find out where they were from. You'll find out who your great-grandparents were. And the same story is true about BancFirst. Ours is absolutely quintessential Oklahoma history. You go back to the great Oklahoma land run of April 22nd, 1889. Our kind of great-grandfather banker in the BancFirst family was a man by the name of J.W. McNeil. He had moved west to Kansas from Ohio in the 1870s to be a buffalo hide trader. And he did, in fact, do just that. He was a very successful buffalo hide trader in a place called Medicine Lodge, Kansas. Now, unfortunately, by the time the 1880s rolled around, buffalo were gone and buffalo hide trading had sort of lost its interest. He studied for the law. He became a county attorney. I think the local banker was shot during a robbery, and he thought, well, I should take up the banking business. But then one day he discovered that I'm in Medicine Lodge, Kansas. Now, Ron, I hope that there's no one at your residence that moved there from Medicine Lodge, but if they did, they probably were thinking the same thing that J.W. McNeil did back in 1889. This is kind of in the middle of nowhere. He read in the paper about something called a land run where 2 million acres of free land was going to be opened up for the taking. And he and his business partner, Alonzo Little, cashed out everything they owned in Medicine Lodge, and they bought a ticket on one of the 10 special trains that made the land run. Now, for those of your residents that studied sixth grade Oklahoma history, they always think about the land run as being horseback, wagons, those sorts of things. But the fact is, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad put 10 special trains on. They gave them orders on they could only drive at a certain speed so as to not give advantage over those that were on horseback. But Mr. McNeil bought a ticket in Ark City, Kansas, and he and Alonzo Little departed from one of the 10 trains that came in the land run in a place called Guthrie. They ran up the hillside, staked out a tent, and he hired 2 gentlemen with Winchesters to be his security system, and he started taking deposits somewhere around 2:30, 3 o'clock on the afternoon of April 22nd, 1889. And what's fascinating is if you go to that address at 101 West Oklahoma Street in Guthrie, Oklahoma today, there is a bank building there, and there's a sign on it that says BancFirst. So we all have a history. We all have a family. And when we take time to look at our roots and we look at the values and the philosophy that has kept our families together, and in our case, kept our business together, that's really what we live out every single day here. Today, Mr. McNeil's tent at 101 West Oklahoma on April 22nd, 1889, is today a $9 billion financial institution chartered by the state of Oklahoma. It's not that we don't care about Kansas anymore, but we don't do business in any other state except for the state of Oklahoma. We're in 59 communities across the state, and a very unique business model that in each one of those communities, we have a bank president. And I'm a former president of 2 of our communities, and my daughter asked me once, she said, Dad, what do you get to do at the bank? Are you just a branch manager? And I said, no, honey, I'm the bank president. I get to hire, fire, commute death sentences, and conduct marriages in the lobby of the bank if I need to. And that's exactly how we run each one of our banks, local decision makers, because only local decisions know best what the local needs are. And so if you go to Tahlequah, you go to Stillwater, you go to Tulsa, you go to Bartlesville, to Marlow, Oklahoma, Tishomingo, Ardmore, the list goes on of Oklahoma communities, we have real decision makers that every day there's a moment of truth where a customer, business, or consumer needs a banking decision. And that's exactly what we're about doing every day. No one gets on the telephone to call off 15 states away. Not that I would, Ron, kick any of my competitors, but some of these banks that are large and nationwide, I don't know if they know how to pronounce Tahlequah or not. I'm from there, so we not only can pronounce it, but we can spell it. And every day we make decisions for people in that town and a wide variety of other communities across the state. The unique thing about what we're doing at your facility, though, is not just a wild experiment. It's not just, gee, let's put a branch in a facility that caters to a particular age bracket of citizens. It's about bringing banking services to a group of people that we believe appreciate local autonomy, local decision making, and most importantly, they appreciate customer service. And that's what it's about. It's not just an ATM, it's not an ITM, although we have probably more of those than any other bank in the state, because in many ways, we're a financial institution that says you decide how you want to do business with us. You want to take your business into the lobby of one of our bank locations and interact with bankers who will do more than simply conduct your transaction. They may ask you how you're doing and how your family's doing, and were you able to make it through the latest Oklahoma weather pattern that took place, and they'll be appreciative for doing so. But if you want to do business online, if you want to do business through the internet, if you want to take advantages of ATMs, or maybe these new modern interactive teller machines, we have an experimental process going where there are locations where you can walk up to a machine and it's just like FaceTiming with your grandkids. All of a sudden, the face of a teller comes on and says, "Hi, Ron, how are you today? How can I help you?" So we're using technology, but we're not departing or turning loose of the very thing that J.W. McNeil brought to Oklahoma back in 1889. We believe that banking is one relationship at a time. It's personal, it's interactive. And we'll hang on to that theory until we Oklahomans decide that, well, we're tired of that. But I can't see that in the future at all. I believe Mr. McNeil knew exactly what citizens were going to be interested in banking.